Forza Motorsports Update 2 is out. After the crash and burn that was the original release, Forza really needs some wins right now and everybody was expecting this update. Unfortunately, for those waiting, this update doesn't really provide a massive win, but maybe a structure for a bigger win in the future. This update is mostly about problem solving, performance-wise, and so on. Still, there is some content, namely the Yas Marina, 4 cars, the Type 40 Lotus, McLaren 720S, 2018 Mercedes-AMG GT3, Peugeot DG Sport Competition 308. Only the Type 40 Lotus has been released. Every other car will be drip-fed with a weekly release. There's a new Rivals event, new multiplayer events that will be changed weekly. The link to the update list is below if you want to check it out. Content is nice and all if you paid for all the relevant parts, but that's an issue for another video. Though the main area of concern for this update has been bug fixing and button hunting, which aligns with the priorities for Forza drivers at the moment. In this case, game stability, texture compilation, multiplayer stability, and so on. The new cars are usually passable for me, so it is the current method of getting them as they are in game passes, unlockable by playing Candy Crush if you buy the gems in a special gold store, or whatever is the way that the suits have been using to fleece or nickel and dime gamers out of their money. The reward cars I don't really care about because that means interacting with the single player portion of Forza, and that's really not addressed in this update, so if they are good or bad, new or old, I don't know, and really I don't care. If you enjoy this type of content, leave a like and a sub. So that means for the likes of content, the only new content that I care about, I'm not sure about you, it will be the Yas Marina. It is a Herman Tilke track. I don't like his tracks. This one I don't like as well, but being fair in terms of representation, model, graphics, and so on, it is an okay track. This Con Turbo R video, link in the description, shows that the track itself is a mild update with a lot of reused assets as expected. After all, if something is not broken, doesn't need to be fixed, and then some of the new assets in are mixed to make it a little bit more upmarket. In reality, they didn't build it from the ground up, it seems, but in this case, it is fine. In terms of graphics, it looks kind of okay. It will depend, of course, on time of day or night, but at certain times of the day or cloud coverage, it kind of feels off. But then again, graphically, this whole game feels off. What is also off is the AFK exploit, I'm sad to say. If you used to grind the car XP of your Poké car this way, so you didn't have to make a bajillion laps to get the car to the level where you want it to be actually be used, well, tough luck, now you have to drive the car. So that means all of this new content coming along will be more of a chore than something you can try to see if you like when it's upgraded. Well, unless you enjoy the current car system or the car itself, but horses for courses, I guess. So in terms of content, a bit slow. There's a few career events if interacting with the current state of single player is your thing. It isn't mine, I've said this much so many times. The massive part, though, of this update is, of course, stability. In that case, I'd say that the update is actually hugely successful. The game is no longer crashing on a PC. For example, if you start with the splash video, the mouse is clicked. In terms of stability, I never really had many issues with crashes. It has been mostly with stutters or low performance. So in this case, for PC players, not sure about you Xbox drivers, it feels that something has changed positively in a very significant way. And first of all, the FPS increase in my system is around 10 to 20% at 1440p ultra wides, with or without ray tracing. The LSS quality does only really give 5% uplift in my side. Besides the FPS boost that I feel, the stutters are also significantly lower. I felt a few in Barcelona multiplayer, but regardless, everywhere else, the graphical performance feels snappier. Still, the graphics, you'd be sad to know, they haven't really changed an iota in terms of quality. They still seem super contrasty with a strange auto exposure methods. The color reproduction and balancing is all wrong, and the paint still works horribly. The big thing for this update has been, at least for me, multiplayer stability. In this case, it is absolutely night and day from the release in update 1. The lobbies work far better. The multiplayer stability efforts have removed the massive time delays for a race or session to start, but most importantly, if you remember, you had this multiplayer massive time delay for a race or session to start whenever somebody got hung up with changing the car setup in the menus. That is totally eliminated altogether, and now the multiplayer lobbies are generally smooth sailing, everything works as it should, everything starts on time. Something really cool that really needs a shout out are the vintage Formula races. The Lotus 49 is an absolute blast to drive. It's very similar, I was surprised, to the Assetto Corsa handling. It is a handful, but a handful in a good way. You steer the car with the throttle, and the steering wheel is basically just to provide a little bit of pointing or to do the counter steering. I had the blast driving these cars in multiplayer, and in my opinion they should appear far more often in the rotation. I know a lot of people won't like to drive this because they aren't as logical to drive as modern cars or cars from the 1980s. Still, one big issue with the racing has been the inverted aero grip that is happening in high aero cars, where the car behind that should be having impacts from dirty air seems to not suffer from the effects of dirty air, but rather the car in front is suffering from that. Update 2 sadly does not fix this, and it will be unlikely that the update would fix it, as it seems that even the developers themselves didn't know this was an issue, unless of course this is then by design to manufacture close racing instead of having close racing because you're driving the cars as they should. Still, these types of physics changes may take more time to update than just the next couple of updates, or at least they wouldn't be at the top of the priorities. I say this because keeping people playing is their #1 issue at the moment. For example, if you go to the Steam charts, they have been averaging less than 1,500 concurrent Steam players. And I know this doesn't include Xbox or the Microsoft Store and really Game Pass, but Forza Horizon 5 has more than double concurrent players than Forza had in launch on Steam. Launch to launch, we're talking about 20 times more than Forza Motorsports, and Horizon 5 is 2 years old. So this shows that Turn 10 is in a fair bit of a pickle, with a lot of trouble, with a lack of player retention. This lack of player retention is also showing in the Steam reviews as well, where the reception has been mostly negative now at 33%. We're talking a drop from 43% at launch to 33%. It's quite a big drop since the launch. The improvements can't really come fast enough, as the current state of the game is totally not acceptable. Some will say that we should wait a few months, these things take time. I actually say no, because this is a AAA release title. It's not an open beta. You really not are paying for early access or any of these things where they can develop while you're playing. This is a full release that took 6 years, therefore it must be in a state that at least needs to have something that we want to go to. I believe that Forza will take at least a year to improve to get anywhere close to workable, where you want to play every single part of the game, either be multiplayer or single player or something like that. And I doubt that many will stick around for it. Hopefully I'm wrong, because like I said, I love the driving and I love the multiplayer. One last point, I really like how update rollouts are done for Forza. Everyone gets the update at the same time, no matter if it's a console, Microsoft Store or Steam. It goes out the same time, and that's basically it. There's no fuss, it is there. Period. I really wish more multi-platform titles were like this, and I'm looking at you, Assetto Corsa Competizione. But anyways, these are my opinions. Let us know what you think in the comments.